So I just wanted to go ahead and get started. Wanted to start sharing my screen. So this question I do get asked a lot is with regards to renting to individuals or to families, right? So you might buy a house that you have or you own or you know someone who owns a house and they're moving out of state, right? And you're trying to decide whether you should rent out to families or you should rent out to individuals. So I'll kind of break it down into different scenarios and which one would work better for you. Okay, so for an example, renting out to families, right? The pros are usually I mean, it's simple to rent out to the families because you only need to have like one single, and even if you have like smaller condos, like 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, you can rent out to families for a decent price, right? And the cons are, right, the disadvantages is you have like limited income, right? For an example, if you have a home, a family can only pay so much, right? Maybe if they're making $5,000 after paying taxes and everything, the maximum they can pay is maybe 2,500, right? Sometimes the families have young kids, they can mess up the house, and if the family is relocating or they're moving to a different location, then you would have to basically find new tenants, right? And then you have to wait for them to move out and then clean up the house, make some updates, because if the kids mess up the carpet, they drew lines on the walls, and the house is really messy, you need to have a professional cleaner to come and clean, or maybe you have to make some small updates like carpet paint and then rent it out, right? So that's one of the problems with the renting out to families, right? So sometimes, renting out to individuals, the pros can be you can get multiple rent checks, right? Um, so for an example, you own a 5 bedroom house. You can rent out to 5 different individuals and maybe charge them like 700. So 700 times 5, I don't know how much is that, like around 3,500, right? So what you can do is you can collect checks from different people, and then if one tenant moves out, it's easier to just clean up the room and rent it out to another tenant. You don't have to like clean up the entire house or search for tenants, right? Because renting out to individuals is a lot more easier. Also, usually if you're renting out to like working professionals, they're gonna keep the house clean. Like they're not gonna draw lines on the walls, or put ketchup on the carpet, or make a big mess, like put food here and there, etc., right? So that's one benefit of that. You might have to clean up the room, however it's not that big of a job, you can even clean yourself. Or you can hire someone to come and clean every month, right, like common areas. And another thing is that if one tenant moves out, something happens to a job of one tenant, you still have the other 4 tenants who will live in the property. So you don't have to really stress out about paying your mortgage bill, because you still will have rent coming from different tenants, right? And so those are like few of the pros, right? If you are actually renting out to working professionals, and it's easier to rent it out to them because you don't really have to do background check and all that. Because if you're renting out to families, you might have to do a lot of work to actually go through the background check, make sure your credit is good. For an individual, paying $700 for someone working at Microsoft is not that big of a deal, right? So some of the cons are for renting to individuals are you would have to have multiple leases, right? You would have to maintain multiple documents, and sometimes people keep moving, like maybe this month one tenant moves out, you have to bring another one, so you have a new lease in place, you have to collect deposit, you have to collect rent, and then people move in at different times. Sometimes people move in on 15th of the month, sometimes people move in on 20th of the month. So then you have to calculate, bring the billing cycle to the first, and then make the difference of the payments and all that. So sometimes it can be a little bit headache. And also you would have to like manage an Excel spreadsheet to keep a track of the rent, bills, etc. It could be dividing bills, etc. It could be tricky. So now you might be thinking is, well, I'm really confused. I don't know what to do, right? Should I rent out to individuals or should I rent out to families? Because I have explained you some pros and some cons of each of them. So here is how you can make a decision whether you should rent out to the families or individuals. Okay, if the home is 3 bedroom and less, then rent it out to a family. Okay, because the house is not that big. Renting out to individuals, you're probably not going to make a lot. Okay, so for an example, if you rent out a 3 bedroom house to 3 people, so about $700, right, per month from each person, or 700 to 800, then you're probably going to make close to like $2,200 max. And if you can rent out to the family, you will still make the same. However, on individuals, you would have to do a lot more work. So that will save some of your time. However, if the house is 3+ beds, like around 4 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms, and you can also carve out the living area and be creative and also rent out the living area to another tenant. That's what I did on my other rental properties that I have right now. You can make, create a space for another person, because sometimes most of the houses have living area and a dining area. And most of the people don't really actually hang out in the living area, because most of them actually hang out in their own rooms. That's what happens in my house, right? Which I rented out. So in that case, you can convert the living area into a bedroom and create another bedroom, and convert the 4-bed house into a 5-bed, or 5-bed into a 6-bed. That's what I did. I converted my 5-bedroom into a 7-bed. Now I'm converting my 6-bed into 8-bed. So that's what I am actually doing right now. So that's what I would recommend you do as well. If you have 3+ beds, then rent it out to like individuals. If the home is located in suburbs and not close to like corporate companies such as Microsoft, then rent it out to the families. Because what will happen is that if you rent it out to individuals, you might have like hard time renting out, because most of the people who actually work at the companies will actually stay closer to the cities. So if it's really far away, then you want to rent it out to families. If the home is near Microsoft, etc., then rent it out to individuals, because they like to stay closer by the companies where they work. Another thing that you can do is, if you take if you don't want to take the headache of like maintaining different leases, and you just wanted to keep things simple, then rent out to individuals, right? However, if you want to like do a lot of work, and you will be able to like take care of all the different leases, maintain bills, make sure you're able to collect rent, and you don't forget the dates and all that to collect rent, and you can handle all of that, then rent it out to the individuals. That's what I would recommend. So hope that makes sense. I do have like group homes, so if you have questions, you want to ask like how I maintain my Excel spreadsheet with all the track I keep, let me know. And then if you have questions or anything, feel free to give me a call or WhatsApp me as well. I will always be available if you have any questions. Okay, thank you very much. Hope that was helpful.